Hey everyone, welcome back to ONYX Pages, and I think this is the first time ever that I've done this. I am going to talk about almost all the books I read in 2020. Welcome back to ONYX Pages. I'm Jerry, and I am going to talk you through almost all the books I read in 2020. So all the physical books that I read. I went through my Goodreads, I went through my shelves, and I'm pretty sure that this is everything that I read. Now, it's been a year. This is unprepared, and it's not going to be a 7-calorie shell review. I'm just going to, free associate, kind of just tell you word association, such and such, what I thought of each of the books. So let's get started. This is in rough chronological order. No, it's not. It's not. There has been falling and toppling. So it's nowhere near chronological order. It's pure chaos. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with the ones on the floor. So this is Far Sector. This is a graphic novel written by N.K. Jemisin and I believe illustrated by Jamal Campbell. I want to say Jamal Campbell was involved. Let's find out how. Either by being the artiste. Is it even going to be easy to find? No, it's not. Why? Why would it be easy to find? It's not easy to find. So Jamal Campbell, how were you involved in this? I have no idea. So maybe Jamal Campbell was, well, it said that I think Jamal Campbell drew. Let's see. It's very unclear. So I think Jamal Campbell was the artist who drew the character. So this was the new green, like a new Green Lightning. Sorry, no. that's what's that show? Black Lightning. Black Lightning. Yeah, no. New Green Lantern. Okay. Whew, this is off to a strong start. Okay. So yeah, lovely. This was giving me Janelle Monáe vibes with the little like pompadour situation, and just I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna read more of the series, so that was great. I also read LaGuardia by Nnedi Okorafor, and this was very wonderful. Just like, it was amazing to have like the main character, a Nigerian American woman who was pregnant and leading a rebellion. Just so cool. The art was gorgeous and I enjoyed it, and I am going to follow LaGuardia as it continues. Second last of the fourth last. What am I even? Okay, another graphic. So this is Motor Crush, created by Brendan Fletcher, Cameron Stewart, and Babs Tarr. This was fast action, queer, very, very colorful. Protagonist is super cute, right? Sort of soft butch main character, and she is a racer. And basically, like, in this world, there's this drug called Crush, and Crush makes your motorcycles go faster, but also it's something that you can get addicted to. And she is this racer, and she ends up getting involved in this like sort of, she has to make a deal with the devil, basically, in order to protect her love. And it's just cool. It's just the beginning for me. Really enjoyed it. Love the colors. Love the world building. It was like very action-y, gritty. Lots of like racing and like speeding and arguments and bravado and cute romance, queer drama. It was great. Enjoyed it. Okay, let's talk about what's next? So I am currently reading Alicia Dow's The Sound of Stars. I'm only maybe 20 pages in. It's a hybrid read. So reading the physical copy and also listening to it and enjoying it. I'm loving the sort of near future sci-fi. I think that there's a really strong friendship, like loving friendship in this, and I'm so ready for it. So enjoying that. And there's an AI character, which is great. Okay, so I am almost finished listening to Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, and I have thoughts. I read three Octavia Butler books this year. The first was the graphic adaptation of Kindred, and here's the one with words only, and here's the graphic adaptation. And I read this because I had the opportunity to interview John Jennings and Damien Duffy, J2D2, during Quarantine Pages. So that was great. It's Octavia Butler. I will read and reread everything that Octavia Butler has written. I enjoyed the experience of reading both together again. The graphic adaptation was like edgier and grittier and scratchier than Kindred was. I felt like Kindred, the novel with words, I don't know what that's called, the prose novel, I don't know, but like the non-graphic, the first original, I don't know. It was softer on the spirit than the graphic adaptation was. But I definitely say that everything inspired by and written by Octavia Butler is like a must read. Also, I read Wild Seed with the Octavia E. Butler slow read. So this was a second book that we read. I loved Wild Seed. It was problematic. It was funny. It is the beginning of a series, the Patternist series, that I can't wait to get into, the Seed to Harvest or Patternist series. And I loved reading it with a bunch of people through the Octavia Butler slow read. So I read that. And then I also read Parable of the Sower, because why did I do that? I read this because because of the interview with John Jennings and Damien Duffy. In fact, this is what I read for the interview with John Jennings and Damien Duffy. I preferred this graphic adaptation of Parable of the Sower over the one for Kindred, but it was simply because of the story, and the fact that when I read Kindred, I felt like, actually, it's not that I prefer the graphic adaptation. I prefer the perspective from which the story is told in Parable of the Sower, because the perspective is Lauren Olamina. It's her perspective. Whereas in Kindred, and so as a result of that, you see the story, you see her expressions, how things are happening to her. But in Kindred, sometimes you see the story from the perspective of Rufus, and I didn't like that I had to see that. So that's the issue for me. The graphic adaptation was great, and so was the graphic adaptation for Parable of the Sower. Okay, we're doing well, right, Tomi? Yes. Okay, good answer. Is there anything else from... Okay, now let's just try to go in some kind of order. So this was Unraveling by Dr. Karen Lord. This, I definitely, if you can see that, I don't know if this is helping you, but anyway, if you can see that, there were a lot of tabs used in reading this. I definitely annotated this. So Unraveling is very, very hard to describe, but it's like it's, multiple timelines, very sort of spatially diverse, right? Things happening on different planes and stuff. It's kind of there's a whodunit element. It's definitely a whodunit. There's mystery. It's a dark fantasy. It is it's basically the story of a murder. I believe there was a murder. Was it a murder? Yeah, so the main character is trying to find out who a serial killer is, and the serial killer has like human motivations but also non-human motivations, and it's really like, it being called Unraveling is exactly what it should be called. It threw me for a loop. It was good and difficult and good. And the labyrinth on the cover is exactly what needed to be on the cover. Okay, read the synopsis if that doesn't make sense. Then I read this collection of short stories, a couple of them original, by Nisi Shawl. And Nisi Shawl is fantastic. I enjoyed this, this collection. My favorite story had to do with a woman and a doll and like a service that she provides that involves this doll and like the Orisha. So that was really cool. I love Nisi Shaw's work. They are awesome. And this is Talk Like a Man. I'm not even sure if I said that, but yes, that was a really great short collection. I read Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. It was very good. It was gritty, speculative future. My only issue with it was that I wanted more of the story from the female character's perspective, and there was a bit of point of view shifting that I remember feeling a little bit like swirled around by. But Riot Baby was really, really great, and Tochi Onyebuchi, you should go over to Melanin Eclectic's channel because she stands Tochi. I do as well. She stands him harder and she's read more of his work than I have, but this novella was really great, and the magic in here, like the superpowers, just, it gave me, I don't know if you've seen oh my gosh, there's a science fiction, it's not like black SFF, but science fiction called Chronicle. It's a movie, it's old. This reminds me, like the feeling that I got reading this was similar to the feeling that I got watching Chronicle. Sort of this like anxious, you know, what happens when teenagers get like superpowers that help them engage with the world. Like this, it was that, like, there's a political element, there's an anti-black racism element, there is a kind of like activist element definitely to it. It engages questions around race politics in the US at this time, and then add a superpower to that. Just, yes, very good. Oh, so cute. My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by Ibiza Boy. Very, very, very sweet. I cried. And the fantasy world here exists inside the main character's imagination. There's some good disability representation in here, and just a sweet story about living. There's like commentary around class, but a very sweet story about moving from a Caribbean island, I think is where she's migrating from, to a city in the US. So very, very, very sweet. Okay, Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. Wow. Amazing world building. So basically what happens in this world is humans have had to leave the earth, and they have found a way to exist in space, and they do that by living inside the bodies of these large spacefaring animals. Like they actually like live inside of them, like inside the bodies. And so those animals obviously can't last a lot of time because there are like thousands of people living inside of them. So the question is like, is it sustainable? What kind of political system would allow this to happen? So there's a lot of like political intrigue here. There's a bit of a romance here. It's very queer in a lot of ways. And yeah, just the world building is fascinating because you've got the outer space, but you've got the inner space of these animals that these individuals have to live within. So really great. Looking forward to the sequel. How Long Till Black Features Month? This was a meh for me. N.K. Jemisin is amazing. Many of the short stories left me breathless, but a lot of them left me nonplussed. So it was difficult to finish this one, and I feel sad about that because it's N.K. Jemisin and she's amazing. But I found that this one was a bit hard to get through, although there were some stories that I absolutely adored. Tananarive Due, Joplin's Ghost, lots of history, lots of music, a ghost, Obvi, Joplin's Ghost, just some really great politics. Like, this was a really interesting, historical, spooky, speculative read, and I loved it. I did not read that. Okay, then there's Shout Out, which I read for the readathon. A bunch of like different artists and writers. This was a graphic novel. It was forwarded by Nalo Hopkinson. It was just like, it's a great collection of stories, like fantasy stories and sci-fi stories, and lots of geekness and some ghosts and demons and witches and Vikings and just all queer, just so awesome. So Shout Out was such a delight to read. I read The Salt Roads, again, third read or fourth read by Nalo Hopkinson. Loved the parallel points of view. There were three or four main characters. Lots of sensuality and sexuality. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I love this particular cover. I don't think that it's this cover is still around, but really great to get back into Nalo Hopkinson's work. A Phoenix Still Must Burn, collection of short stories inspired by Octavia Butler. It was a wonderful collection, and yeah, I'm just looking at, like, you know, some of my notes and stuff. I can't even remember what my favorite story was, but the stories in here were great. And I'm just looking at the ratings, you know, that my average rating out of 5 stars was 4.1. And there were a bunch of 5 out of 5 reads. So just a really great short story collection, really focusing on Black girl magic. There's a little bit of horror. There's a really like sexy vampire one. Just like lovely collection. For the readathon, I read The Marrow Themes by Cherie Dimeline. Really wonderful. Enjoyed it. Set in Canada, speculative future, near future, post-apocalyptic, and really interesting concept, which is that the marrow inside the bones of Indigenous people can restore dreaming, because dreaming was taken away, and so it was a really nice take on neocolonialism through speculative fiction. So really loved it. And I just realized, oh no, okay, I have another one. Okay, I read A Dream So Dark by L.L. McKinney. Wonderful. This is the sequel to A Blade So Black, which is a reimagining, as Brittany would say, of Alice in Wonderland. So I guess this is Alice in the Looking Glass, maybe, because there's like, anyway, Alice in the Looking Glass. But I cried. I loved it. I'm having memories of like listening to it and reading the book and walking to the park, like just wonderful. So really enjoyed that one. For the readathon, I also read Black Writers Matter, which is a collection of short works. There's some fiction, there's some life writing, nonfiction by Black Canadian writers. The editor is Whitney French, and she's awesome, and this was great, and I loved it. I read The Ballad of Beta 2 by Samuel R. Delany, obviously a Grandmaster. Oh, I should say, Nalo Hopkinson has been named Grandmaster of Science Fiction, and I believe that she's definitely the first Black woman to receive this honor, and the second African descended individual to receive the honor. The first was Samuel R. Delany. So congratulations, Nalo and Samuel Delany, you're awesome. And yeah, so this was great. I think I have a review, so you can see that. It's a very recent one, but it was great. And I think so far it's one of my favorite novellas by Samuel R. Delany. So awesome. Woo! I read Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer. I don't even know if I reviewed this, but I enjoyed it. And the notion of conducting, like the magical system here was great. And there's a secret character that shows up in the last third of the book that just blew my mind. So I understand that people had some difficulty with this because of the slow pace, but it didn't take anything away from me. And it was a hybrid read for me. So I listened to it and like read with my ears and read with my eyes. And it was narrated by Joe Morton, who was the father on Scandal, and his narration was stunning. Whew. David Mogo Godhunter by Suyi Davies Okunboa. Really enjoyed this, set in Lagos, this chaotic world of gods, godlings, and the Orisha. Fast-paced, a lot of fun. I think I read it during Halloween, which is why I annotated with this like Halloween situation. And yeah, it was silly and funny, and I loved it. You good? Okay. And then almost done. Also read this, I think, in October, short story collection, Ancient. This was not as great as I had hoped it would be. And I hate saying that because I was super looking forward to it. There were a lot. I mean, it's a short story collection, so you're going to get stories that you love and stories that are meh and stories that you don't like. And that would be my experience of this one. But the stories that I loved were amazing. I was expecting, I think a common feature of these stories is that there's a sensualness to them. And I will say that many of them had that sensual element, that sexual vibe to them. And I thought that was like really great. There was one revenge short story that was really important for me to read, and I enjoyed that as well. Not every story was a hit for me, and I think this was like I moderately enjoyed. If I take it as a whole, I moderately enjoyed this collection. But I would actually still recommend it. Conjure Woman by Afia Atakora was wonderful. I buddy read this with my friend LP, who is an amazing writer, and I was supposed to like film a video, and I kind of didn't show up for my part of things, so that was really difficult. But anyway, so Conjure Woman was a really good read. I'm not sure exactly what to say about it, but there you are. And then the last ones, Arc Dust, short story collection, Black queer writing, written by Alex Smith. Some of the stories I really, really loved. Others I did not. Again, it's a short story collection, but very queer, very Afrofuturist, and I would recommend it. But not all of the stories sort of hit the mark for me, but very urban, very, very like gritty. And this book, more than any other book that I read this year, was written from the perspective of like people who are marginalized, not only in terms of sexual orientation and race, but also in terms of class, right? And as I read this, I realized I don't read a lot of stories written from the perspective of individuals that don't have a lot of like financial resources to their name, like in a sort of futurist perspective. So yes, that was very good. And then the last three. So Trail of Lightning, Rebecca Roanhorse, loved it. Can't wait to read Storm of Locusts, which is up there somewhere. I also read The Haunting of Tramcar 015 by P. J. Clark. Also loved it. Was very, very funny. However, there was a subplot that I think should have been more prominent. Besides that, very good. And then finally, Rise of the Jumbies, Tracy Baptiste. Loved following this series. And yes, lots of like mermaid activity, and I also hybrid read this too and enjoyed it. Okay, that is it. Those were all the physical books, I think, that I read in 2020. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you've watched it all the way to the end, please include a stack of books emoticon in your comment, and I would like to shout out I would like to shout out Isis from Sister Sci-Fi. She's not a booktuber. She is a bookstore owner and also creatrix of a great book club and also just like creating amazing community. One of the co-hosts of the Octavia Butler Slow Read. And you can buy books from her. And since I've talked about all of these books, then you should definitely check out her store and see if any of the books that I've read are there and available. And if so and you're interested, you should buy them from her. You can also, I think, make requests and join the email list to find out different like events that she's doing and also promotions. That was the word that I'm looking for. All right. Read with purpose. I certainly did. I hope to see you in another video, probably in the same outfit. Okay. Bye.